When the Ashes first began in 1882, there were two big names, one on either side. W.G. Grace for England, who was a legendary figure and a famous cheat, and also Frederick the Demon Spofforth, this very tall 6'3" fast bowler from Australia, who was known as the Demon, and he was absolutely demonic. He looked like a great big stick insect. He was very wiry and thin, but he was a brilliant bowler, and the most interesting thing about him actually was he could just bowl and bowl and bowl. He kept going. He bowled fast, then he bowled cutters, then he bowled a few swingers, he could bowl Yorkers, he could bowl almost anything, and he kept going. In fact, in the famous test in 1882, he bowled consecutive overs, because you were allowed to in those days. If you wanted to change ends, you could bowl one over one end and then say, actually, I want to change ends, and bowl the next over the other end. He did that several times, kept going through the final innings of a match when England were chasing 85 to win, and the turning point in that match really was W.G. Grace running out the Australian Sammy Jones when Australia had batted first in the earlier part of the game. He ran him out when he was gardening. He come up the wicket to dab down a couple of divots, and W.G. Grace whipped off the bails. The umpires were too timid to stand up to W.G. Grace, so they gave the batsman out. Off he had to walk. That made the Demon absolutely furious, and he then came out and bowled these successive overs when England needed 85 to win, and bowled them out for 77. Took 7 for 44 off something like 28 consecutive overs. They were only 4-ball overs in those days, but they were overs nonetheless, one after the other. He bowled England out. I think he took 16 wickets in the match, which was the greatest match-winning performance by a bowler of all time, and stood for a very long time. He demonised England, and Australia went off with the spoils, and that's how the Ashes were created.